part three of my Apollo 11 tribute build. And before we get into this part, I want to go over a couple more things now. Like I says, I'm building this more for the overall, the comparison, all the different size rockets in the manned space program. So I'm not going overboard with detailing and making this more accurate or anything like that. I know there were decals, more accurate decals with more decals included aftermarket, but being that this has been out of production for so long, I don't know if those would still be available. I know if you get the Revell 1/44 scale, there are accuratizing parts like and stuff like that for that particular model, especially for like the command service module deal and stuff like that. I know there's detail parts to fix up those second stage J1 engines and stuff, make them more accurate looking than what's in the kit and stuff like that. But I got other models that I spend time, numerous hours, days, weeks on detailing up and making sure everything's accurate 100% and stuff. But I'm not going to waste my time on something like this when I'm building for an overall display and not just displaying one rocket with all the stages and stuff like that. So just to let you know, that's where I'm coming from. One thing on this kit that's not accurate, which the Revell 1/44 scale is, on the escape tower that goes above the command module, the escape tower on this model is just a little tip, and the tower, that's not accurate at all. The escape tower was actually a whole cover that covered the whole command module. During liftoff, the astronauts didn't have windows to see out of. It was completely covered. Part of it was for safety and fires or anything like that. And once the escape tower was lost, the whole command module was then revealed and stuff with all the windows, the hatch and everything like that. I mean, there was a hatch on the escape tower where the regular hatch on the command module is, in case they did have to evacuate before liftoff and stuff. But this kit, that's like, it's not accurate, but it is what it is. It's a decent model. It's just, if you're looking for accuracy, go with something else. But anyway, another thing, I bought this kit in a garage sale in my town, and it included the whole man in space kit, and then it had a bunch of extra pieces. It had like four kits. When AMT first released all this stuff, they made some small kits, little boxes. They're the same scale, 1/200 scale, but all it included was this upper portion of the third stage where the lunar module was housed, the command and service module with the escape tower. So you used to be able to buy that as a separate kit. And if you recall, I know Dragon still makes one, but Revell also, or Monogram made, which I built when I was a kid back in the day. It was a 1/48 scale kit, and it was all this with the escape tower. It stood about 2 feet tall, and 1/48 scale, the command module, a little deal up here. It was, you can hold it in the palm of your hand, almost the size of a softball. It was a very large kit and stuff, and I know Dragon still makes one. I know it's not available at most places now, but maybe someday they'll come back with it. I had seen one years ago, the Monogram one in a hobby shop near me. I thought about it, but it's like, nah, I don't need something like that. I'd rather build a whole rocket set and display the rockets and everything. But like I says, I don't detail my kits. When it comes to Star Wars or my Star Trek kits, all lighting, I make sure everything's spot on and things like that. I take the extra time with accuratizing things, photo etch, things like that. If there's any fit issues and stuff. But this one, it's it's not that I'm lazy. It's just I got other things that I'd rather spend all my hours on, really make them look great and stuff. This one I'm just going over for an overall look. Once I get all the rest of the rockets built down the line the next few months or whatever it takes, then I'll do that. And I'm not in no rush to build the whole set. Like I said, I'm just doing this right now because it's the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11, and I thought it would be pretty cool to do the Saturn V build right now. I might not get the other stuff for another 6 months or a year or whatever, but anyway, that's what that is. They also did make the Saturn V as a separate kit, and the parts for that were also in the box. So evidently the guy bought the man in space kit, plus he must have had I got four of these kits, and there was another Saturn V kit in there. You know, it was just all bagged up loosely and stuff like that, but all the parts there. So at one point he must have bought the individual kits too. So that's why I'm doing like little dioramas and stuff like that. But anyway, we're gonna get back into the first day. It's the first part of the mission and all that, and then like I said, I'm going to do different videos on different days, you know, significant parts of the mission. I'm not going to do a video every day because on their trip to the moon there wasn't a whole lot of stuff going on. But anyway, that's the third stage, and that after they got rid of the first, second stage and all that, got themselves into Earth orbit. And once they got into Earth orbit, fired the third stage engine to put them into orbit. They orbited the Earth like 3 or 4 times, and then they refired. I don't have this, isn't complete. This is part of my Saturn S1B, so I don't have the engine on there or nothing. But they fired up the third stage engine again to put them on their trajectory towards the moon. And as I said, the third stage didn't take them to the moon. It was jettisoned still above the Earth before they started out on their trajectory. Basically, they didn't use no rocket to get them to the moon. It was pretty much the gravitational pull. It's the same way they got home, because that service module, that was only enough fuel in there for different maneuvers to slow them down once they got to the moon, make any course corrections on the way and stuff like that. And then on the side, you see little thrusters on the side. That's pretty much to control like pitch and roll and stuff. If they got off course a little bit, they had to get everything back tweaked in and everything like that. So, but it was basically what got them to the moon, even though they were traveling 24,000 miles an hour. The gravitational pull of the moon, just like the moon affects the Earth's, the tides, the high tide and low tide, that's all affected by the moon's gravitational pull. So basically what they did with the orbits around the Earth before they fired up the third stage last time, that third stage took them out of their Earth's gravitational pull basically, and pointed them towards the moon and stuff. But once they got through with that maneuver, that was one of the critical parts during the first day. And this is like this is 4 hours into the flight. What they did, they jettisoned the third stage. These were 4 separate panels they kind of blew off. What they had between the stages and all this stuff, they had little explosives on the locking mechanisms that held everything together, and they'd blow those little bolts off, and that way everything would separate. Then they'd turn around and they would grab the lunar module and retract it. And I did up, like I said, I was going to do a bunch of little dioramas, so bear with me here, and I'm going to get everything up here. So once they got the lunar module retracted from the third stage, that's pretty much the configuration of it there. They'd then rotate back, and they would start heading on their way to the moon. It was a 3-day journey to the moon. So in the meantime, once they start on their trajectory, in that this would rotate in a spiral pattern, because when you're not in the Earth's atmosphere, you're out in space. The heat is a lot more. You know, there's nothing. The atmosphere around Earth protects us from the big heat that the sun throws off. So once out in space, things heat up pretty quick, and the opposite side, away from the sun, things would freeze up. Just like if you ever watch any videos of the Saturn V launch, no matter which one it is, you see big chunks of white stuff coming off the rocket when it's in the tower and everything. That's the liquid nitrogen. Actually, it's a cold temperature fuel, and it's so cold it forms ice on the side of the ship. So as it's lifted up, it all breaks up, and that's what you see falling past the rocket, you know, down from the rocket over the tower and everything. It's basically the same thing. They rotate to keep an even temperature distribution. That way one side won't heat up and the other side freezes, because any fuel or oxygen that they got on board in the storage tank in the service mods, it would be affected by the major temperature changes like that and stuff. So, but I'm going to call this is the beginning of the journey, the 3-day journey to the moon and everything. That little picture I got on there of the moon, that's my one of my own little pictures I cut out from one of my extra pictures that I took of the moon with my good camera and stuff. If I blew that up, you'd actually be able to see the jagged edges of craters on the outer circumference of it and everything. So, but I thought I'd make up a little diorama with them, started heading on to the moon and everything. This is all thrown together real quick because I didn't realize the other day when I was starting to finish this up and everything, I didn't realize that, you know, the 16th was the day they launched and everything, and I wanted to make some little dioramas to go along with the first day that I do videos of what's going on. So I just threw this together real quick, but eventually what I'm going to do, this is just all held in place with some tape in the back and everything, and a piece of piano wire. But what I want to do is make a little shadow box fully framed in and everything, and make it more, you know, more cool looking, you know, permanent and stuff display. So, but anyway, you know, that's the way they headed the moon, and there's not nothing much eventful going on for the 3 days, other than, you know, they fire the engine and stuff to, you know, make any course corrections if they veered off or anything like that. But other than that, though, that was pretty much, you know, 3 days of probably boredom. You know, they probably did a lot of different checks of the instruments and stuff, the computers on board, make sure everything was working properly and that. And the scary thing about this, like I mentioned in a previous video, that this was like a big experiment. You know, I mean, they went to the moon with Apollo 8 and stuff. They just you know, orbited the moon a few times and then headed back home. They didn't land, but there was a lot of times when the communications, being that everything was so primitive, you know, they didn't have the, back then, the technology. They were comparing it to what a Casio watch was, and the early versions of the Game Boy back then, that those things had technology than the Apollo spacecraft did. There was many times where communication wasn't working right, and they couldn't hear mission control couldn't hear them. You know, these guys were on their own. And when the flights first started, they actually had a speech prepared for President Nixon if something went wrong at any time during the mission, from off to splashdown, where he would have to make a speech to the American people, you know, condolences, you know, if the astronauts this and that. The astronauts were expecting, they knew it was going to be a 50-50 shot. It was basically one big giant experiment. And as we go down the line and get into the moon landing and stuff, I got a little diorama I'm working on for that. There were many issues that happened where either they're going to abort flight, or they're not going to make it back off the moon and stuff, and we'll go over that in all those videos, stuff like that. But I just thought it'd be fun to do a cool little build, being I had all these extra kits that were thrown in with in the box and stuff that AMT used to sell. I said, well, that's pretty cool. I can do some little videos and stuff. And although they might not be 100% accurate little model, I tried to do my best with the paint work, you know, get them detailed up with painting and stuff to make it look a little bit more realistic than what you actually get in the kit and stuff. Like I said, it's not a bad, but if you want accurate, go for the more expensive, larger scales and stuff like that. But hope you're enjoying this and all that and things. And oh, before we leave, some of my past experience, you know. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, we used to take trips to Florida, so I've been to the Cape several times on the tours and everything. And like I says, I was lucky enough to actually witness Apollo 15 takeoff person and stuff. But back in the day when we used to go to the Cape, I've been on several tours of the Cape. You know, they take you on the bus tour, they take you out on the roads to the different launch pad sites and stuff, 39A, where the Apollos took off from and all that. But they actually go up alongside one of the big crawler transports and stuff, and I mean, that was awesome. They used to give you little brochures and stuff, you know, all about the tour and stuff, and Mom used to take down notes when the guy on the tour guide used to, you know, give talks about the size of the nuts and bolts that held certain parts of the transporter, how fast it crept along with the Saturn V and the launch tower sat on it, things like that. And also back then, you didn't have all the stuff like nowadays with all these terrorist threats and attacks and stuff like that. The tour was a lot more detailed. I don't know if they still do the same stuff, but they used to take you in the big vertical assembly building, that tall building you see when they show pictures of the Cape and everything. That's where they actually stacked all the sections, the stages together and stuff. And they used to take you in there on one of the levels, and they had a partitioned off area between glass where, you know, we actually saw at one of the tours that we went on one year, we actually saw them stacking the different stages building the Saturn V rocket and stuff, getting it ready to the launch pad, and that stuff was pretty interesting. Like I say, nowadays with all these tighter security, especially around government installations and things like that, high tech places, things where people can do wrong. They may not do that as part of the tours no more, but back then they did. And fortunately, I'm old enough, and back then in '69 I was 10 years old, so I was old enough to understand all this stuff, and I was always into it. Science fair projects and grammar school was all about space and space travel, the Apollo program and stuff like that. I always used to get great grades on that. It's something that always interests me. Never wanted to be an astronaut, but I was just always into space stuff and things like that. That's probably one of the reasons I'm in so much to the sci-fi, mainly Star Trek. That's my deal. I build Star Wars kits and other sci-fi, but main thing is Star Trek. That's what I grew up with and stuff, back with the original series and all. But I just thought that would be a little cool information to share with you too. Growing up, I got to see a lot of things. I had good parents and stuff that took me on insist on a lot of cool trips, and did a lot of sightseeing and extracurricular things like that. So anyway, till the next video, I'm probably not going to do another one on the Apollo 11 mission till Friday. That's when they actually got to the moon, and then Saturday is the day that they landed on the moon. So I'll probably do a couple videos over those couple days, on the next portion of the flight and stuff. But right now, the next few days, there's not much going on as far as they're just on their way to the moon, keeping things organized and making sure everything's legit, and not too much eventful stuff going on. So I'm not going to just do video updates. It's not like it's a real space flight or nothing. I'm just doing it with my little diameter displays and stuff like that. So hope you guys are enjoying it. Before I go, I'd like to say thank you to all the new subscribers I've been getting the past few days. Thanks to all my ongoing subscribers that I've had for several years now. Thanks for all the comments you guys been leaving. Thanks for all the times you guys hit the like button. If you ever want to get in touch with any questions about everything, I leave my email at the end of every video in the descriptions. Feel free to contact me by email if you got questions you don't want to leave in comments, and if need be, we can always exchange phone numbers if I see fit, and I can give you better detailed explanations if you got questions about how to do something or how I do something. I don't do build videos on everything. I'm more into building a model and posting a video of the finished product once it's done and stuff like that. I've done a few build videos if you go back and look through my uploads and stuff, but other than that, I spend my time. I like to build a model, get it done as good as possible, and make it look realistic, making sure everything's 100%, and then I post a video with a finished product. Sometimes I'll do several videos if they're going to be time consuming and go in a lot of detail, but other than that, I like to keep them short and basic and stuff. But I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm having fun doing this little video with the tribute to Apollo 11, and I thought it was an appropriate kit build for this occasion and everything. No matter what the critics, there's conspiracy theorists out there and stuff. There's some things I have questions about, but the only thing I can say that is a known fact, I saw Apollo 15 take off. I know that Apollo 11 actually took off. Whether it was a conspiracy or not, once they got to the moon, those questions may never be answered and stuff. I believe it actually happened. That's just my opinion. So everybody's entitled to their opinion and stuff, and I'm sure for next hundreds of years there will be conspiracy theories. Did it happen? Did it really take place? Or didn't it? So the only question is, why haven't we gone back to the moon sooner than after Apollo 17, the last flight? They wasted the space shuttle. I know they did a lot of experiments for medical things and stuff like that, different experiments, other stuff, scientific stuff, research and that. Same with the space station. But that's one question I got. Why haven't we been to the moon since then again? So anyway, they did have one thing. The astronauts on the moon said they did see some UFOs, a couple UFOs parked over some craters. So who knows? Maybe someday we'll find out the truth. But seems like there's still a lot of cover-up and questions that need to be answered to this day, even though it was 50 years ago. So till this time, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you saw this video but didn't see the previous one, go back a few videos and watch all my different updates. You know, I'm doing part 1 to next this Friday will be part 3 and 4, 4 and 5, whichever. You know, the moon landing itself and everything. I got a little diorama. I'm working for that. So again, hope you're enjoying it. Take care and watch the rest of these videos. You know, maybe just the information itself. I'm not an expert, but I try to give some good information to go along with my model build and stuff. So guys, take care. Have a good one. Until the next time, we'll see you. Bye.